while the war in Ukraine is some 17,000 kilometres away, Kiwis continue to reach out and help. Our next guest, Jessa Pontevedra, is no exception. She's been on the ground providing medical support to Ukrainians who've had to flee their homes. More than 14 million people are understood to have fled their homes since Russia's invasion. 6 million have left for neighbouring countries and 8 million are displaced inside cities like Dnipro, where Jessa has been working. And she joins us from there now before she returns to Aotearoa. Kia ora, Jessa.
Kia ora, Morena, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's wonderful to have you with us this morning, and thanks for making the time to share your experience. How long have you been in Dnipro right now?
6 weeks.
Right, so you've been on the ground for 6 weeks working there with Médecins Sans Frontières. Can you describe the work that you've been doing?
So for the last 6 weeks, I've been medical responsible for 2 projects now. So one is based here in Dnipro, which is a metropolitan city, to be completely honest. And we are seeing or trying to provide medical care for people on the move or the people who are trying to flee from conflict zones. And then they come to safer areas like Dnipro, for example, and seek shelter here as they continue on moving towards the west. Or sometimes they actually stay here in hopes that they can go back to their cities. So we try and provide medical care for them. And then I'm also medical team lead for another project that we have further east that's closer to the front line, wherein we go and see all of these healthcare facilities that are still functioning, run by Ukrainian medics, and see what they need and try and provide them with their needs.
And when you talk about, because there are many that are displaced, but I have read reports as well that some of those that have located themselves temporarily in cities like Dnipro after fleeing their homes is because they actually can't afford to continue travelling on to other neighbouring and bordering countries, so they're stuck there really at the moment. And Dnipro's because of its unique location, it's a logistical and military hub for humanitarian efforts at the moment from a logistical perspective. So what can you tell us about the people that you're coming across and what you're hearing from people on the ground every day?
So it's really, you're correct. So at the very beginning of the conflict, the 4 million that's moved already have gone further west. And these are the people who can afford to move further west. Now, the people that we have been seeing in the last, say, 4 weeks, to be completely honest, here in Dnipro, have been the people who have been forced to move for their own safety from their homes and are staying here in Dnipro. And to be completely honest, it's the elderly, it's the more vulnerable population really that have chosen to stay here because, again, they're hoping that they can go back to their homes once that opens up again, or they just don't have enough money to move further west.
And this is day 89 of this ongoing war. Since you've been there over the past 6 weeks, how have you seen the situation change in Dnipro with the work you're doing?
We always say that we try and monitor systems because it's the systems that we would always want to support. And as the conflict really carries on and just extends, we're starting to see a system that's getting tired and exhausted. And so we try and keep ourselves up with making sure that all the gaps are monitored and addressed quickly. And we are as agile as we can be in addressing these gaps. But yeah, regardless of how much, let's just put our heads down and keep going and get things going. That's the general feeling of the Ukrainian staff and workforce here. But people are also getting exhausted.
Yeah, and I imagine, because I know you've done a lot of work with MSF, you've, I think 9 missions you've been on so far. Tell me about this particular mission. How are you feeling at the end of this, and what are you taking away from this experience?
I was just saying this earlier, it's exhausting. I feel like I've done 30 missions in total here, to be completely honest, just of how quickly like the entire context has evolved, and we've gone from looking at trauma care from the very beginning, the physical trauma care from the very beginning, to now looking at all of these other gaps, and gaps that are still evolving, and making sure that we are on top of it. And yeah, and it's just it's exhausting, and how quickly everything is evolving. But mainly as well, I'm taking away the fact that, you know, it's a very resilient country as well, full of resilient people, and it's really. I was just traveling the other day, very close to the front line, about 10 kilometers, but I see like women and children, and particularly women, painting the sidewalk. And I was asking one of my Ukrainian colleagues, I was like, and she was like, life goes on. We just put our heads down and carry on. And that's really what I'm taking away from this. Like, I'm exhausted, but you know, you put your head down and you carry on.
Wow. Jessa, before we go, I really do want to put this out there. How can we help some of the work that is being done there on the ground and with MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières, where you've come from?
Donate to your trusted organizations, for sure. And if you're ever thinking, if anyone's ever thinking of doing humanitarian work, we're always looking, we're always recruiting for multiple profiles, not just medical profiles. Anyone from admin to journalists to, you know, logistics can apply. msf.org.nz.
Jessa Pontevedra, a nurse there in Dnipro, working with Médecins Sans Frontières, and she is a Kiwi. She is coming back home as well. Thank you very much for your mahi and also for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.